All right, so let's start. Good evening, everyone that is watching in YouTube. We are here in the Zoom room. This is an event sponsored by the Berklee College of Music, especially by the Dean of the Performance Division. And we have a super special guest tonight. We have Carolina Arenas. She's from Colombia. Hi, Carolina. Nannette Velez from Puerto Rico. Then we have Marc Quiñones from New York, Puerto Rico, I guess, right? Yes.
Born and raised in the Bronx. Puerto Rican. 100%
And then we have the almost South American, but Central American, Luis Enrique. How are you? And we're going to have a great conversation tonight about the Latin industry. We have different angles, of course. That's the purpose of the panel. And I'm going to leave you with our student from Mexico, Jimena Caballero. She will be the host of the program. Have fun.
Thank you, Oscar.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. It is really an honor to have you all, such renowned and inspiring figures of the industry tonight. Thank you, Oscar, for the introduction. My name is Jimena. I am a songwriting student from Berklee, and I'm from Mexico City, and it's very, very exciting. So I would love to start by introducing each of you and for you to each tell us a little bit of who you are and what you do. So our first guest tonight is Carolina Arenas from Colombia, who is head of Latin America and sales at Audio Network. Carolina, please tell us about you and the work you do for Audio Network.
Hi, Jimena. Thank you so much for the invitation. I've been in the industry for like the past 20 years. I know I look young, but I'm not that young. And what I do is for Audio Network, I'm in charge of all of our Latin American clients. And what Audio Network is, it's a production music company, basically a music library. And then we look for composers, we commission albums, they write for us, we pay for the production, and then we license our music to our clients, which are TV channels like broadcasters like Telemundo, MTV, National Geographic, Disney, and then they use our music, and I'm in charge of all the licensing for Latin America.
That is amazing. Thank you. Next, we have from a Berklee alumni from Puerto Rico, the director of the Latin Grammy Cultural Foundation, Nannette. Please tell us about you, the work of the Latin Grammy Foundation, and of who you are.
Hi, everybody. My name's Nannette. I graduated from Berklee in 2006, not so long ago. And I'm the director of the Latin Grammy Cultural Foundation. There we want to help further international awareness and appreciation of the significant contributions of Latin music to the world. We do this through grants, music education programs, and scholarships. We give 44 scholarships a year. We have given 255 scholarships. We have given more than $5 million in musical instrument donations, scholarships, and grants. And Jimena is also a scholarship recipient of the Latin Grammy Foundation. She's amazing. And yeah, I was a scholarship student too at Berklee. And if it wasn't for that scholarship, I wouldn't have been able to go. So here I am, giving back to the world what the world gave me.
Incredible. The work you do is really amazing. Students like me are very grateful. And now we have singer-songwriter Luis Enrique from Nicaragua. Please tell us more about you and your work as an artist.
Well, I've been in the industry for 34 years as an artist, as a solo artist, as Luis Enrique. But previously, I started as a musician, as a percussionist. And been working on music since I was 15 years old, 16 years old, professionally. And everybody knows me as a salsero singer, but I've done diverse types of music within my career. And I love singing and I love writing music a lot. that's for me is the core of everything that I've done, especially even when I was as a percussionist in many different groups and types of music. I still love the songwriting side of the business, and started writing songs when I was 11 years old. So self-taught, didn't have the luxury to go to Berklee, but I definitely have learned a lot from students from Berklee and from teachers from Berklee. And you know, knowledge is powerful. You pay attention, and you will definitely learn from others.
Thank you. Great advice. And last but not least, we have percussionist and producer Marc Quiñones from New York. Please tell us about you and what you do.
Well, as you said, my name is Marc Quiñones, and I am born and raised in New York, in the Bronx. Been playing percussion since I was 3 years old, and I won't tell you how old I am now because it'll be. But yeah, I've had a you know, I've been involved in music basically my whole life, and you know, mostly playing, you know, percussion, but also on the producer side of things, you know, assisting, you know, like in the mid 80s when I was in Willie Colon's band, I did a production for him, and working with Sergio George, you know, we worked, you know, in conjunction, doing a lot of productions together. And now I'm working with Tony Sukar, who's, you know, up and coming producer, timbalero, percussionist. And, you know, that's what I do. I play, you know, I've been playing music my whole life, and feel lucky to be a musician, and, you know, to be a part of this forum as well, for, you know, to hopefully, you know, give some of my experience to the students that are tuning in.
Yeah, that's incredible. Thank you so much. Thank you once again, all of you, for being here. And I thought we could dive in and learn a little bit more about each of you and each of your paths and what each has taken you where you are. So if we would love to start with Carolina. The question I had for you was, what type of music do you think is more, you know, have you been more involved with, that is like you've seen more in the Latin music industry? What is more accessible now, especially for our students now who are, you know, creating music?
Well, in part of like the territory that I work with is Latin America, right? And it's very different. So basically what we do is music, like all the incidental music, like all the music that you hear in like the shows and the films. So that's what we do. But we focus on TV and advertising. So we have two types of clients. So in Latin America, like for example, for TV, you will find mostly what they need is incidental music. For trailers, they're gonna need more epic music. And for TV, for example, if it's a show that is very targeted for, like, let's say Colombia, they might need some Colombian, like original folkloric music. And then in Argentina might be very different. But overall, like in TV, well, it really depends on what they're working on, but they're gonna need epic music, they're gonna need suspense, they're gonna need salsa, they're gonna need, it really varies. But definitely, because when they do have like the club scenes, so they want like the little bit of like the reggaeton sound, or like let's say if it's in Colombia, they want a little bit of the vallenato sound. So it really depends on the territory that we're working with. But I feel that Latin music is mostly used, I think, in the US, like, and Latin music, and means like all the genres really, but they use a lot of the indie music, Latin indie, and a lot of regional Mexican music as well. It really depends on the type of productions that you're looking at. But like, let's say if it's for advertising, it's mostly indie music. And if it's for TV, it's more like epic and suspense, and it as I say, it like really depends on what type of project each of the clients are working on. But there's definitely a possibility for every genre. For example, in our catalog, when I joined Audio Network, which was 4 years ago, they had very limited Latin music in their catalog. And when I started hearing what we had, I'm like, okay, no, this is not tango, this is fusion. And this is not salsa, this is like something else. Cause it's like very Americanized sound, or I'm like, no, we need traditional music. And little by little, we've been like, and we've actually increased like we've released a lot of Latin music albums, more of we have Latin pop. And it's funny because it's very interesting. We have an album from a Berklee student that I had met when I was working at BMI. His name is Nicolas Farias. And I met him when I went to a talk in Berklee. And we connected from there. And then he signed to BMI. He got a scholarship, like a pure music Latin scholarship. And then he wrote for us an album, and his music, which was Latin pop, has been used in many shows in Latin America. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you. And could you tell us a little bit more about how you got to the position where you are today? Because your trajectory is very impressive, from working in BMI and as an A&R. So tell us a little bit about how that path was formed and that took you where you are today.
The path was formed by me not being talented enough as an artist. So I ended up, and mind you, my father is a musician, he's a producer. So he's the one who broke my heart and told me, no, honey, you do not sing. But you know, when I moved to Miami with him, he was working with a very important producer, Rudy Perez. And I was like 19, and I got the job there to help out with all the recording sessions, like home office and recording studio. And from there, I met Eddie Fernandez, who's the A&R for like back in the days for like Universal. And then he offered me a job in A&R for Universal. And then from there, it's like I moved on to production and then marketing and then regional Mexican. And then I moved to the Latin Grammys. I think it's just really working with ethically, being honest and just enjoying what you do and giving your best at every job that you do, and really being trying to make sense of things and taking every opportunity when it comes, and staying connected with people.
Yeah, of course, that's very important. Thank you. And Nannette, we'd like to know a little bit more about how you came to be director of the Latin Grammy Foundation and about your personal path, because we know you're a musician as well. And yeah, tell us about it.
So I'm a flute player also. I studied flute in Berklee, and I moved back to Puerto Rico to play with the Banda Estatal de Puerto Rico, la Banda de Conciertos, with Hugo Peña. My dad's also a musician, so I was playing with him all the time. But I started to get very interested in non-for-profit institutions. I started working at a program called Música 100 por 35 in Puerto Rico, where we get free music education lessons to students. I was also giving music history lessons at the Universidad Interamericana in Puerto Rico. But when I saw the work that they did in non-for-profit, and also at Berklee, I was working with Jason Camillia at the scholarship office. So every time I heard somebody that won a scholarship, I got so excited, and that's what I decided I wanted to do. So it's very funny because I got a call from my current boss, Manolo Diaz. Hi, Manolo. And he's the best. So I got a random call. I was working, and he's like, hi, this is Manolo Diaz. We're going to open a foundation at the Latin Grammys in Miami. And I was like, is this a joke? Who is it? What is this? And he had told me that they were going to open a foundation, and they got my resume actually from Berklee, and Berklee recommended, and I started talking with them, and it was such an amazing opportunity to help him create this foundation and help so many students. I really feel passionate about I want to help. There's so many talented students all over the world, and they have a passion for our music, for our Latin music. And I wish we had millions of scholarships to give out. But it's that moment when you tell them that they won and their dreams came true. And it's such an amazing opportunity and feeling. And I tell them also to, when they win and when they study and they start working, like, to please give back, to give back and also help other musicians make it, and yeah, and send good energy to the world.
Yeah, I think it's very special that you lived through the path that us students, musicians are going through. And it's a great testimony and example of how us through our career, we should always, you know, also give back. And it's amazing that you've dedicated your life to supporting the future of music. I think that's really wonderful. Thank you. And now, Luis Enrique, we'd like to know a little bit more about your path. You know, we'd love to know a little bit more about your transition from Nicaragua to the United States, how it has been as a Latin artist in the music industry in the US, and how you've gone through all of that.
Well, I come from I come from a family that is full of our musicians and artists, you know, composers, singer-songwriters, poets. One side of my family, it's dedicated entirely their lives to folk music from my country. Very well known. Two of my uncles are very well known. So I come from this, you know, I jokingly say that, you know, I didn't have a choice. I was born into it. I'm, you know, it's like, you know, you're born into it. Just like Marc says, he's been playing since 3 years old. Well, you know, it's like music chose me, you know, and Nicaragua has never been known for a salsero country, to say the least. So everybody was surprised that ever since I can remember, all of a sudden I got into salsa back home, and nobody understood what in the world I was listening to. And it was hard to get records. It was hard to get my hands on music that I wanted to listen to and learn from. Like I told you in the beginning of the conversation, I'm self-taught. Everything that I do, I learn on my own. So basically, music for me was my teacher. Listening to other people play instruments and all that, that's how I learned. And when I came to the States in 1978, please don't think about my age. I started playing with different kinds of, you know, groups: jazz, fusion, jazz, rock, definitely salsa. One of the first groups that I joined when I got into music professionally in the States, in California, in Los Angeles, was a group that was doing music from all Latin America that I have never listened to before. So for me, that was very interesting. I learned about music from Peru, from Uruguay, from Brazil, all over Latin America. And as I was playing, I was learning about, you know, the way that this music needed to be played. I was playing percussion. Sometimes I was playing guitar, and sometimes I was playing bass. I was like moving through different instruments in the group, and so was everybody else. So it was an interesting way of learning, you know what I mean? And learning about all types of music. And then I just dedicated myself for percussion. For percussion, for me, it's played an incredible role in my life. I dedicated my entire life to learn. I'm still learning. I'm still listening to different people. And percussion for me, it's almost like when I see a drum, whether it's from Puerto Rico or from any part of the world, I usually just look at it and pay reverence to the drum. For me, it's something sacred. I respect the players, and I respect the different cultures of drumming throughout the world. So I take it very seriously. And for me, it was the basics for all the music that I've done in my life, even up until right now. Getting into music in the United States and within the Latin community was a little bit hard. Nobody could really understand how a Nicaraguan kid wanted to play congas or Latin percussion. Nobody wanted to teach me because I was from Nicaragua. That's the honest truth. Uh, so until a Cuban guy decided to give me a break, and he said, all right, man, you've been bugging me enough. So, I'm going to teach you the basics and you go from there. And that's exactly how he did and what he did. And from there on, it's been a beautiful journey. Music for Hispanics in the United States, it's always going to have his pros and his cons, but you got to fight through it. And the best way to fight through it is by believing in yourself, dedicating, putting the time into learning and working on your talent, working in your craft. Talking is not going to get you very far, but putting the time in your instrument and really, really getting good at it, it's what's going to get you through it.
Definitely. And I can see how important it is to learn from other musicians. I see it at Berklee. I think I've learned more about my own roots being surrounded by musicians than I did before coming to Berklee, which is really incredible and important to always want to learn, definitely. And now we'd love to learn, Marc, a little bit more about you and how you've managed to be a producer and a percussionist. And I know you've worked with a wide variety of genres, from jazz to salsa, and now with the Doobie Brothers. So tell us a little bit more about this process of combining all these styles, what your work has been.
Well, just like Luis said, I was born to music. My father, my uncle, musicians, percussionists, and I had no choice either, man. But early on, people saw, that I guess I had some sort of talent. I started, Tito Puente took myself, Bobby Allende, Bobby's brother, and this other kid named Jose Jusino under his wing. And we started doing shows with Tito when I was 9 years old. And from there, he put us on these stages where people saw us, saw that we could play. And somehow, everything just snowballed into where I am now, where, I just started playing with different bands, salsa bands in New York. I had a friend whom you guys probably know, Oscar Cartaya. He's a bassist. He was playing in Spyro and he, called me to do a session with Spyro, and subsequently I toured with them for a year. And then I toured with David Byrne from the Talking Heads for a year. I recorded a record with him called Ray Momo. And then I was in the right place at the right time when I met Butch Trucks, the drummer from the Allman Brothers, who saw me playing with Spyro and called me up for a recording. And that recording turned into 23 years of me playing with the Allman Brothers. And now, I'm with the Doobie Brothers. And so, and we go back now, and like Luis said, you have to be humble. You have to, be respectful to other musicians, to other genres, to other, situations, and study your craft. Unfortunately, just like Luis said, I didn't have the luxury of going to Berklee, but I think that education is really important. And also, being open to other things, because, there's, how is it that, a Puerto Rican from the Bronx winds up in a, rock and roll band, or, playing salsa my whole life. And then, I'm playing, jazz, I'm playing quasi rock with David Byrne, playing rock and roll with the Allman Brothers and the Doobie Brothers. And, and also, like I've worked on productions with Luis, we did, Sergio George did a production for Luis Enrique that I was asked to be a part of as well. So, I mean, it's just been, I don't know, it's just been a crazy career for me where, I wasn't just stuck in one genre. And that to me is really important because, you need to expand your mind, expand your music, so that if the opportunity presents itself, you'll be ready to do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very important. Thank you. And can you tell us a little bit more about the tools or elements that the process you go through as a producer when deciding what elements will best make the song? Because I think you have all these genres and styles that you can, drag from. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, I think always being open to, ideas and don't be shy about, expressing your ideas to others, because there really is no bad idea. Maybe it doesn't fit this particular, situation, but, the creative process is something that, you have to explore. Never be afraid to explore that. And for me, being a percussionist, and also, my dad took me, to theory lessons when I was a kid. I didn't study music, which is kind of a, I wouldn't say a downfall, but, it kind of limits me to other things because I didn't study like, any kind of rudiments or drumming or anything. Everything that I do just came to me, by, I guess, by my dad, my uncle, and by luck, by blessings, and so, but when I have all these crazy ideas, especially rhythmic ideas and also melodic ideas in my head where, and working with, now with Tony Sukar, because he plays piano and and percussion, we can bounce ideas off of each other about what could work in an arrangement, and what couldn't work. Like he can play all the notes that I'm singing to him. And that's a lot of the ways. That's a lot of the ways we do arrangements at his studio. Where we're just bouncing ideas off of each other. And like I said, just don't be afraid to express your creative side in anything. It doesn't matter what instrument, what you're doing. Just don't limit yourself.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Sometimes as a musician, we are afraid of expressing because it's very vulnerable. And yeah, you have to just be open and let it happen, of course.
Yeah, but you could almost equate music with with love and relationships. You have to express yourself. You have to be able to express yourself. Otherwise, you're going to limit the potential of your musical situation, your relationship situation. You can't be afraid to express yourself. I mean, if it fails, it fails, right? But you pick yourself up and you continue the journey.
Exactly.
You don't get anywhere if you stay down, or if you keep everything inside.
Yeah, thank you for that answer, Marc. And Carolina, now I would love to know a little bit more about, I know it's very different to write music for film and TV and when you're writing for a music library. And I'd love to know, I think students here who are composers and songwriters, what they should be doing or focusing on when trying to write for music libraries or for, for all of this. What calls your attention as Audio Network, for example?
First of all, you need to, let's say if you're gonna go and pitch your music to Audio Network, first of all, do a little bit of research on who Audio Network is, what type of clients they have, we have, what type of music we have, and maybe what we're missing. And also when you're pitching your music, it's really about pitching what you know how to do best, not what you think you're good at, or not because they need reggaeton, then you're gonna do reggaeton, but then you're amazing singer and composer like for regional Mexican music. So I would really stay true to what I think I'm best at, and really looking at like, okay, like let's say I'm a great composer in salsa. Okay, going to the library, go looking in the search tool and the search engine and put salsa and see how many salsa songs we have. And you're probably gonna find 100 songs, but then most of them are not salsa. So then you have a big chance of doing like working with us on a salsa album or Latin pop. Is like really to that's what and I remember Nora Gonzalez from Berklee as well. Like she's an amazing Mexican singer and she is a great vocalist and she kept true to her roots. Like that's what she does best and that's what she's doing. I think it's really doing the research or any music library and do know that for epic music, you must be, like, I think you do have to be great at anything you do. But for epic music, like orchestra music, you are really competing against like philharmonic, like huge, like beautiful bands from like orchestras from like UK, so really I feel that there's such a big opportunity for Latin music with all the libraries, especially now, because for me, Latin music has been hot for the longest time. The thing is that technology has allowed the Latin music to be more global at the same time. But for me, Latin music has been hot all the time. But let's say now is the hottest thing ever. It's traveling to Oslo, to Norway, to China, to Germany, everywhere. So there's such a demand for Latin music. So if you are composing Latin music, just do what you do best. Make sure you have like a really good demo to pitch. And then when you're pitching, you have to know how to tell your story and sell that story. And it's not like you're, okay, like if you sell your story or if you're not diminishing the quality of your music. And that's why sometimes I feel that composers or artists is like, when you talk about selling and it's like pitching, it's like, no, but that's how you are gonna make your life of, like you're making your living as a musician. It's a job, like it is an art. And I totally respect that, but you're gonna make a living out of your art. So first of all, you need to treat it with respect. You have to know that it's worth it. Like you have to give a price to that art and respect that and make sure that when you're telling your story, the story is gonna resonate with them. So I think, I think it's just do your research, see what music they need, and pitch what you have what you're good at, and make sure that when you're pitching, you're including all the metadata, the contact info, the correct links, and that you're telling your story. Like you're, like I'm pitching all that, like I'm, and I'm talking to you, I'm trying to persuade you, and not persuading you, but like inspire you, or like, okay, like giving you a little bit of things that you should do. And that's, you should, as a composer, as a musician, you should tell that music libraries, like, look, I'm good at this because of this. Yeah.
Of course. Thank you. We heard in a class just now that that a musician always has to be a salesperson, and it's part of what we have to do. So of course that makes a lot of sense. And we also have a lot of music business major students in the audience tonight. So I'd love for you to tell us a little more about what advice you would give them if they're interested in doing what you do and going on your side of the business, of A&R, of entrepreneurship, and yeah.
Like, okay, but like what exactly, like what do you want? Like, I don't know, like is there a specific let's see, how to do what I do?
How to be, I think, when an opportunity presents to them, how to be the best prepared, or what to do to be, as forward as you can be when that window of opportunity opens for you to get in the industry, more on the business side of things.
Okay, first of all, whoever you meet, anywhere, anytime, just treat them with respect. Actually, before that, know about yourself. Get to know yourself first. You know, like, okay, I'm good at like, what is it that I want to do? Where, like, am I good in this part of the business? Or like if I'm an entrepreneur, I better know that I'm a resilient person and I'm ready to take no for answers. I think all musicians they're all entrepreneurs and they're ready to take no for answers. And that has nothing to do personally, like that, don't take anything personal, right? So I think it's, yeah, first of all, I like really get to know yourself as a business person, as a student, as a musician. Then, okay, this is who I am and this is what I like to do. And then, am I really good at this? And then, okay, what type of the business do I want? Do I want to hustle? Then entrepreneurship is for me, and I'm resilient. Yeah, sure, entrepreneurship is for me. Do I know time management? Yes, entrepreneurship is for me. So it's really very different traits for all the jobs. I feel that when I started in the business, I started so young, and it's just everything started opening up itself, and I just had a passion for it. And if you are passionate about directing videos or about composing music, just perfect your craft. And you do not need to go to school, because you see Luis Enrique and Marc, but please do, because you are in Berklee. No, but you know what? Like when I started in the business, I had left Colombia and I had graduated from high school. And then when I got here, it was very expensive for me to join a school, to go to FIU. Like that's where I went to FIU. And I started working and I started learning from the job I was doing. And I was just getting paid for working and just being, I think, like professional and on time and responsible and reliable, and don't overpromise and don't lie. And it's just like, you know, so many things that you think that they make sense, but not too many people make sense. And treat, and as I said, like treat everything with respect, everyone and the craft that you do. And yeah, I didn't study, and I went to school when I had already gotten, like I terminated my job with Universal. I went back to school. I turned down jobs because I really wanted to go back to school. And it was great, and it polished me, and it put me like in contact with other different people. But I think it's really being open-minded, being true to yourself, being ethical is just be always ethical. I can definitely, I don't speak to many people at my current job that I made relationships with throughout my career. But anytime I need something, I can pick up the phone or I can email that person, and I will hear back from my peers. So it really depends on your preference, but I think I'm very passionate about what I do. Anything that I do, I'm very passionate. So as long as you're passionate and you're responsible, I think you can just do anything as long as you're informed and just be, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Thank you, Carolina. And now, Nannette, I would love to know a little bit more. First, with so many students here, what would be like the recommendations you would give to them when applying to the Latin Grammy Foundation, to the scholarships? Do you think they should focus more on their like spontaneity, in like versatility and, you know, skill? What is what you like shines more to you when choosing, you know, the students to support?
For the scholarships, we have a committee that scores all of the applications. They look at a couple of things. They look at talent, rhythm, intonation, that they have a passion for live music, and they also look for that spark, that thing that, like Carolina was saying, the thing that will help you is to be yourself. You don't want to imitate and play like somebody else. You know, that everything that you heard, all the musicians and your classes has helped you like develop your sound and how you are. So that's very important for the auditions. And also, guys, please, if you're playing with a group, you have to say, I'm the one with the red short, with the red shirt, and be the one, you know, that's closest to the video so they can see that it's you. That's very important because we have a lot of group videos and we're like, but who is Juan? So that's very important. But also we are not, the committee is not looking for anything that it's highly produced, like an outstanding video that's edited. No, they're looking for you, your sound, your talent, that spark, intonation, rhythm, and yeah.
It's incredible. And I wanted to ask you if they're seeing from your perspective in supporting all these students and all these young musicians, is there anything that you see them go through or that you see happens very frequently that is maybe hard for them that you can give them any advice on, or, you know, that is, does that make sense or?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see some students who they have to be true to themselves. Like when they're doing the auditions or when they get to the college of their preference or to Berklee, they start to get lost because it's easy to get lost. There's so much stuff happening. But like everybody says, you have to concentrate on who you are, what is your brand, who you are as a musician. That's what's gonna be separating you from the crowd and from the group. Sometimes it's obviously participate when you're in college in all of the ensembles, so you have all the experience. When I was at Berklee, I was in the Latin jazz, in the salsa. I love the hip hop ensemble. That was amazing. So I tried everything. And then as a musician, I was able to incorporate everything that I learned, all of the styles, to my sound and who I was. And obviously I wasn't like the best flute player ever, but I was always on time. I was always myself. Like they said, like Carolina said, I was always respectful. I was trying just, if I was called to a recording, I just wanted to help out the recording and help out the group. So that's very important. And that's, people then called me for gigs and for recordings and stuff because I was on time, I was respectful, I was responsible, and I was myself.
Really great. Thank you, Nannette. And Luis Enrique, as a songwriter, I'd be very interested to know a lot in your creative process, in how you are inspired to write a song, if you have any tools or if you go more by intuition. And with this answer, do you think, what makes a hit? Do you think you have to go more with intuition or with like this formula and like this mindset, you know, when you're writing? I know it's a broad question, but
I wish I had a clue on how to make a hit, honestly. Yeah. I think we go by, a lot of it goes by intuition, but a lot of it is also, you have to do it. You have to work at it. You have to learn. You have to be, you have to make sure that you're writing for whatever is being asked of you to write for. There's so many different styles of music and genres. And believe it or not, even the easiest type of music has its codes. It's got these things that you need to know how to make happen. So whoever is going to listen to this genre, they are going to understand whatever it is that you're doing. I mean, you know, I often run into situations. For example, somebody invites me to write in a session, and somebody says, well, I want to write a hit song. I say, well, be my guest, you know. Or let's write something commercial. Be my guest. You know, sometimes you might think that you have the greatest song in the world, and it just happens that it doesn't connect with nobody. And then all of a sudden you hear somebody on the radio that's got a more complex song in terms of harmony and lyrics all together, and all of a sudden that song is a hit. Well, it connected with a lot of people for whatever that reason is. So to give you a better answer of how to come up with stuff, be yourself, bring something to the table. If you're collaborating with somebody, bring something to the table, bring ideas. Like Mark said, if you're going to collaborate with somebody, and if somebody invites you to collaborate, it's because they want to hear from you. They don't want you to just sit there and not say anything and not have anything to add to the piece. I mean, songwriting is difficult as it is. Even the more simple songs are probably the hardest to come up with. I believe that, pouring your soul into a piece of music, lyrics and harmony and melody, all of that stuff, it's gotta be glued together, and it's gotta flow in a way that you can, sing it yourself and somebody else can sing it, even if they don't have a clue where the tuning is or what the notes are. The thing is that when a song connects, people like it without even knowing why they like it. Even a bad song, you hear a horrible song on the radio, and all of a sudden you're humming the damn thing. I mean, it's like that's just the way it is. But honestly speaking, there's music for everybody. There are songs for everybody, for everybody's taste in music, which is extremely diverse. It would be horrible just to have one genre of music. And I think that songwriting has to be approached. It's like a journey. You know what I mean? You go into it, you go head on, and you hope to come out a winner. You hope to come out in one piece, and you hope to come out better than when you went in. It's a journey. It's a beautiful thing to get into, but you got to know what it is that you're writing. What are you writing for? What are you gonna say? What's the story? How are you gonna tell the story? A lot of the times it's not how much or how good, it's the how. How are you gonna say it that is gonna make the difference?
Of course. Thank you, Luis Enrique. That's a really great answer and very important for us as musicians to take into account. So for the audience who are our participants in the Zoom meeting, if you'd like to put any questions in the chat, we'll start to take in questions so that our panelists can answer. And I would like to start actually with one of the questions from YouTube. Luisa Fernanda asked, how do you compete with people who are from the US? Is it harder being a Latin artist? And what challenges do we face as Latin artists that you think is easier if you're from the United States? And Marc, we'd like to start with you. I know that you're from New York, but as a Latin artist, yeah.
I mean, it's, I feel like it's really not a competition, because there's music for everyone. There's space for everyone. You just have to know, where that space is and where you fit in. I've never taken this business as a competition. So the question, how do you compete? There, for me, there is none. I'm open to work with anybody if they want to have me. If they don't, I'll do my own thing. It's like I said, there's space for everybody in this industry. But again, it all boils down to, what everyone in this panel has said, that you have to be true to yourself. You have to, be genuine about your passion for the music and whatever style that is. And it doesn't have to be one particular style. Like in my case, I've been able to cross over to different styles of music because I'm open to that. When it presents itself, I'm open to the idea. I don't go in saying, sorry, man, I'm a salsa percussionist. That's it. You just got to be, ready you know, when it presents itself. And again, you know, if you go into this thinking it's a competition, you're in the wrong industry.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Thank you. Carolina, do you have anything to add to the question?
You know what? I feel that when you can, like, for example, let's say if someone is looking for a salsa artist, right? And then you're like not strong on salsa, but you know of someone who is strong at this genre. I find it, and for me, it's very rewarding when I can connect people with others and help them. So I think, and when we can support each other too. So for example, if I'm not good at salsa, but I know of someone who's really good at salsa, I'm like, you know what? I have to know that I'm not good at salsa, or I'll explore too. It's like, okay, I'm gonna reach out to this person who's good at salsa. It's like, can we work together? Or maybe I can recommend this person to do this, right? And it happens all the time also, like with us as clients. It's like, sometimes they're looking for one song and I'm like, I can't come up with one song the next day because we just simply don't have it. And I know of musicians that can definitely help. So you really have to just be able and willing to help others when you can't really deliver or do the job that is being required.
Of course. Thank you. Nannette, do you have anything else to add to the question?
Practice. Practice a lot. Yeah, you know, like Mark said, it's not a competition. And what's going to help you is to put in the work, to practice, to try different styles, to get out of the comfort zone and practice a lot.
Yeah, very important. Luis Enrique?
I think it's simple. You have to show up ready. You have to be ready. I mean, you know, life is about opportunities, right? And in this industry, like Mark said, it's not about a competition, but it's about opportunities. And if you're not ready for the opportunity, when you get that call, the Allman Brothers call Mark, and if he wasn't ready, there's no Allman Brothers, there's no Doobie Brothers, there's no brothers. I mean, it's just the way it is. So you have to show up, and when you show up, you gotta be ready. You gotta be accounted for. I might give you an example. When I was in the peak of my career as a singer, that's when I was. It's ironic, but it is true. That's when I was recording the most percussion ever. When I was trying to get a gig, it was hard for me to get a gig. So as I was, you know, in the peak of my career, I was doing Mi Tierra for Gloria Estefan, Abriendo Puertas. I did 2 Collective Souls albums. I did a Foreigner album, etc., etc. And everybody was asking me the same question. How is it that you go from singing salsa, you know, and doing this and being a star in your own right, and then you go and play percussion for somebody else? Simple. I love music, but I have been ready to get that opportunity. There's no way that a kid from Somoto, Nicaragua, ever dreamed of playing in a Collective Soul album, or Gloria Estefan, or Ricky Martin, or whatever. You know, but again, if you're not, you could be the biggest star or the biggest name. If you show up to the session and you're not ready, it's gone. So kids, you gotta get ready, man. You gotta put the work in. You gotta get in your room. You know, Mark and I didn't go to school, but let me tell you, I used to get in my room 8 hours, 10 hours a day, trying to figure out stuff, trying to figure out chords that I heard from Caetano Veloso or whoever in Brazil or whoever from Cuba, and trying to learn from the best percussionists in New York. You know, that was my school. A lot of my friends that went to school tell me, you know, you keep saying that you didn't go to school, but you did, man. You were, you know, in your room trying to come up with stuff and correct the form and practice. So again, you get the call, you better be ready.
Wow, what a great answer, Luis Enrique. That's very inspiring. Thank you. And we have a question from Ricky Matute. If you would like to turn on your camera and ask your question, we would love to do that. So go ahead, Ricky. It's very nice to see you.
Hey, hi. So I have a bunch of questions, but this one goes to Marc and Luis Enrique. So you both started as percussion players, but you also write and you produce music. And you know that sometimes people label you like the percussion player. So I'm curious about knowing how was your process of getting people around you to know that you do some other things besides playing percussion and getting calls to writing sessions and do some other things.
You want to go, Luis?
Enrique, tell us about where you're from. And yeah.
Enrique, where you from, man?
I am from Colombia.
All right, man. All right.
Excellent.
Yeah. You want me to go, Mark? If not, I'm like, fine.
No, dale.
Listen, we all get labels, right? So let's start with that. Don't allow anybody to label you as anything. You're a musician, you're a musician. You can play different genres of music, you can. Or, like Carolina said, if you're good at one, dedicate yourself to that one. In my case, you know, I've been into music forever and all kinds of music. I just love music, period. But I wanted to learn from all these different styles. I really, truly wanted to put my time and devote my time into learning why a certain instrument was played that way. Let's say, why is the conga played a certain way in New York? Why is it played a certain way in Puerto Rico? Why is it played a certain way in Cuba, in Colombia, in Venezuela, and so on and so forth? You have to learn. You have to dedicate yourself. If you want to be a well-rounded musician, you have to put the time to learn why is it that in some areas of the world, the same instrument is played in such a different way. So you get labeled. It used to be like percussionists used to be like, oh, so you play conga, timbal, and bongo. No. Percussionist is somebody that plays all kinds of drums from the world, Brazil, Africa, etc., etc. I mean, it's not just playing conga, bongo, and timbal, you know? And why do we get these calls? Again, because maybe we were ready when we showed up. Maybe, you know, if I would have played a tumbao in a collective soul album, maybe that would have never worked and I would have never gotten a second call for the second album. So, you know, you have to show up and you have to be ready and you have to know what it is that you're doing. And most of all, and Mark can agree with this, people have to know that it's you that is playing that drum. And how do you achieve that? Because your personality, it's all over that you know. But Mark can talk about more about
Yeah,
this.
I mean, yeah, you know, you cultivate your own voice in whatever instrument you're playing. But to answer your question about, you know, how do you go from being a percussionist to a producer? What happens is, like, especially in this era we're living now, you know, with social media and, you know, everything being 24/7 in your face, you could see people and what they're doing, you know, because like I said, in the 80s when there was no internet, there was nothing, you know, I was producing a Willie Colon record, but unless you're from that time and you were interested in seeing, you know, the vinyl cover with all the personnel, you wouldn't know that. But you know that I was playing, you know, timbal on there. You know what I mean? Right. Nowadays, you know, you get this information so quickly. But I mean, you know, I'm sure Luis, you know, because when I get called to do a session, I always have ideas in my head. And so I'm collaborating in that process in the studio, which sometimes never gets out. You know, they only know because of the voice we've created in our instrument, like Luis and myself and Bobby, you know, they only know you as the musician because nobody says, oh, you know, he came up with this coro, he came up with this horn line, he came up with this, you know, piano line, whatever. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, it happens easier now. where they could see you working. But I've had my hand in productions for a long time that people don't know about.
Can I say something it's very similar along the lines,
Sure.
and I'm not a musician, but also it applies to like professionals like me, that it's funny that Luis Enrique says about labels. I remember when I was in Machete Music and I was working purely with reggaeton music, part of Universal, like I was handling all the Wisin y Yandel and Don Omar and all that. And when I was label manager, so you're in charge of these albums and you're in charge of the marketing plans and that everything gets executed. But it's funny because then they asked me, they were looking for a label manager for a rock band from Puerto Rico, Black Guayaba. And they looked at me and they're like, we want you to work in it. And I'm like, definitely, I love it, da, da, da. And the rest of people are like, Carolina, no, like you're doing reggaeton, I still walk around and people think that I'm only reggaeton, and I'm like, Machete years were like 15 years ago. But it's funny because I was able to put together like marketing plan. We worked on that album and they won the Grammy Award that year that they released the album. So I think labels will always, for anything that you do, whether you're a musician, an executive, anything that's called like judgment, judge people are always judging. So I think when you show who you're, like your true colors, whether you're that you like, oh yeah, I'm a percussionist and I'm also a producer. Yeah, right. But no, show them, and you show them and you know what you're doing, you're good.
Yeah, that's really great. Thank you. And before we go to Mauricio's question from YouTube, for Nannette and Carolina, they're asking if you are interested in having students or alumni involved, maybe through interns, and how they can reach out to you for these kinds of opportunities. If so. Nannette?
Oh, yes. We are always looking for opportunities and help from the students. You can write to lgcf@grammy.com. Write to us there.
And we also look for interns. We're a very small company, like we're a global company, but we're a very small company. And now that we're working from home, it's like, I don't think at the moment we're looking for interns, unfortunately. But we do usually look for interns like in the creative team, or especially in the creative team that helps us like look for music actually to pitch to our clients. But I just invite you to log into on our page on audionetwork.com, and there's more information there. But I'm sure in case we need an intern, we'll reach out to Oscar or Jimena, and we'll make sure that the word gets spread out.
First, thank you. And Mauricio Fiore, would you like to put your camera and ask your question?
A ver, hello, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. First of all, thank you all so much for being here and sharing with us, and to the labs and Jimena for organizing this. To all of you, hi Nannette. You said hi before, but I had my camera off, so I couldn't say hi. And my question, I guess it's for everybody, really. You all decide if it suits someone better than other, but it's more like I always have this thought that, for example, salsa. I mean, salsa has a history that is inevitably tied to the U.S. I mean, it was born out of all the musicians that were gathering in the scene in New York and creating that. And then you have also the music from California that's, shared with Mexico and that whole area. Like whenever we talk about Latin music, there are genres that they have always been tied to the U.S. and it makes sense that that in terms of the industry, that's where they have their strongest place. But I always ask myself, should us Latin musicians that work in the variety of other genres that are, exist in Latin America, both traditional and contemporary, should we still look to the US to like expand there, get accepted there, and so we can finally have the place in the industry for all of our musical diversity? or should we try to work in Latin America, develop our own markets so that we can work with the US, you know, and exist in both landscapes? Because I feel, at least in Venezuela, Venezuela was, the market was there and it was great and you could be successful and everything, but it was always, no, but when you go to the US, you know, that's when you're going to know. When you go to Miami, that's when you'll know. There was always this sense that, and of course I'm in the US for school and I love it and I want to stay here as long as I can and work here. But I've always had that thought that when are we finally going to be able to say proudly, you know, we are working with Latin music, with our Latin American markets and working with the US, but also we can go to Europe and we can have our own thing. And I mean, when you started working with C4 Trio, I mean, that was like one of the happiest moments of my life, because they are such a unique group and have such a unique voice, and for them to be able to work with someone like you, and it's just astounding. And Marc works with Tony, and Tony works with people from all over kinds of styles and music. And, you know, I've always kind of thought of that. And this is kind of a perfect group because it has everybody, you know, it has Luis and Marc and Nannette and everybody. You know, sorry for the long question.
You know, I think, you know, part of your question for me, you know, who are you looking for validation from, right?
Right.
Because if your music is good, it's gonna cross anywhere. You know what I mean? Be it, you know, Venice. I mean, Oscar de Leon is a perfect example. C4 Trio is a perfect example. I mean, those guys live here now, right? In the US, but they still identify as Venezuelans, right? So, you know, the important thing is, man, staying true to your music and what you believe in. And if it's good, it will translate anywhere, man. You know, we all come from different places. I mean, look at Luis, man, Nicaragua, you know, but he's globally known, right? I feel like, you know, because to me, it seemed like your question was more validation, you know, that, living in Venezuela, you know, did you have to come to the US to be accepted as a successful musician or successful artist, whatever. But again, you know, you just got to be true, man. It doesn't matter where you live. The music will transcend, you know, it'll translate anywhere.
I think also, Marc, it has to do with, you know, and we've seen it on and off. It has to do with, you know, folkloric music. It's almost like discriminated in our countries because it's there. So we see it every day. We see somebody playing like Jorge Glenn playing a cuatro that way, and you go, oh my goodness, but that's it. There's no industry that can jump onto what they're doing and make it happen in a big way. I think that's where your question goes, besides the validation that Marc says. You can come to the United States. Often I'm asked the same question in Latin America. So I need to go to the United States to make it. It's not guaranteed that you're gonna make it. Nothing guarantees that you're gonna come to the States and make it. I mean, there's no guarantee.
What are you a musician, Mauricio?
Yeah. Sorry, I have the echo here. I'm a guitarist and cuatro player, actually. That's why the C4 Trio is so personal.
Gotcha.
And I composer and arranger and things.
See, so that's the thing. Like Luis said, you know, it's you know, you're playing a very folkloric instrument,
right?
And so, but it you know, it's music. It doesn't matter what the instrument is. It doesn't matter what type of music you're playing, man. So again, as long as you're true to it and you do it with love and passion, you know, you don't even need to come to the United States. It'll come by itself.
No,
music will come.
No. And we can't think about Latin America as a place that is just not industry-wise. It's not the United States. We know that, but it's diverse like there's no end to it.
Mm-hmm.
Latin America, we have all types of music, all type. If you go to Colombia, you go to Venezuela, you go to Puerto Rico, you go to Cuba, you go to any of these places. Look at what Tony's doing with Afro Peruvian music.
The Afro-Peruvian, yeah.
One of the things that he's doing. But listen, you can't allow this thought of, oh, you gotta make it in the United States, or you gotta come to the United States, or you gotta do this, you gotta do that. You know, if you're into folkloric music, if you're into whatever instrument you bring from your country, do it with love and passion, like Mark says, you know, and trust me, it will play out in a huge way, maybe more than what you ever thought about.
Yeah. I was actually gonna say that wherever you live really is where your opportunity is. Mm-hmm. So that's where you started, Luis Enrique, right? You started playing in Nicaragua.
Yeah.
And Mark, I don't know, like if it was in Puerto Rico or was it New York, I don't really know, but it's really where you live, and then you start building from there. And it will resonate, like, you know, eventually, and then if you have the opportunity to collaborate with other musicians, but like we really, like we work with, and I know like industry, I feel that when you're talking about industry, you're referring to global success or something. But in Chile, there are many musicians that are getting their music out. Like, it's funny because I listened this week or last week to NPR, and there was a Chilean guy who lives in Norway, and he has an amazing album. I forget his last name, but it's David. He has an album like very indie, and he lives in Norway, but his roots are like from Chile, but that's what he does, and he can mix. So I do think that where you live, really, that's where you start. And then it's like little by little, is it like, okay, I live in Venezuela or I live in Colombia. Okay, what do I play? Okay, this. How do I connect with other musicians there? Okay, and it's a process, because even if you come to Miami, let's say, unless you're in Miami, and even if you're in Miami, it doesn't mean that your music is gonna explode and that you're gonna be connected and you're gonna like cause sensation. No, it's a process, and it's a process for everybody and in every industry, I feel.
That was exactly what I was gonna say, Carolina. It doesn't matter where you are. When I started playing, I was like, oh, I have to go study someplace else. But now in 2020, there's live music and music everywhere. In every country, you can find amazing musicians and opportunities. Years ago, yeah, I understand that if you wanted to play like contemporary music, where I lived, it was also classical, and I didn't want to play classical, so I started moving and figuring out what to do. But now, everywhere in all the institutions, and there's musicians of everything, of every genre, everywhere.
Well, listen, there's many examples, and I think that this is gonna be like the closure for this. There's many examples. Juanes, Shakira, Carlos Vives, Grupo Nietzsche, Oscar de León, como lo dijo Mark. Many people, many artists, they come to the States when they already made it in their own country, in their own right, and with their own music. So, you know.
Can I jump in?
Yes,
can I jump in?
Of course.
Okay, so this is a great conversation, by the way. I'm learning a lot, but also we have to make a point of Brazilian music, because they are probably the most authentic with their stuff. I hardly see a Brazilian singer singing in English, but still the creativity and the projects of their own music, it never ends. There's always new things that are coming out, and there are many examples from Tom Jobim and probably before that I don't know if they lived in the States, or Caetano Veloso, and they are world famous. So it's one thing is about the contacts that you're looking for probably, and then another thing is to move to the States to learn or to study or to like play with different players and learn, because that's what I did. That's what Luis has done. That's the opportunity. I never gonna see I'm from Peru, a guy playing steel drums in Lima. So, but here you have it, you know, so that's what I'm saying, you know, that's the difference.
Yeah.
So if you come to the States with that mind, you know, to learn, you know, I don't know if you're gonna make it or not, nobody knows. But if you come to that mind, with that mind, then you get to your creativity aspect, you know, you switch that up, and then you will gonna look for something that is gonna identify you in the future. You know, so then you apport, not only learn, but then you participate of the game as well.
Yeah, the success is not guaranteed, man. But you know, you just
Not here or anywhere.
stay true. Yeah, it's not guaranteed anywhere, you know. But stay true to your art. Stay true to yourself, man, and everything will fall into place. You know, I was lucky enough that, you know, every opportunity that I had, I didn't audition for. It just presented itself, and I was ready for it. And that's all you got to do. You know, prepare yourself and stay true to whatever it is that you have your heart set on, man. Because if you're in it for fame, you're in it for the wrong reason, man. You know?
I think success is very relative. I think being successful is really being able to make a living of what you do and what you enjoy. So
I think success also it has to do with, are you truly happy with what you're doing?
Right.
That's the bottom line. Whether it's, you know, mariachi music en la Plaza de Mexico, or whether he's playing with a salsa group in New York, or whether he's playing reggaeton, are you happy with what you're doing? Music is supposed to be happy. It's supposed to make you happy, and you're supposed to make happy everybody that listens to you. That's just the way it is. It's a gift. It's something that, you know, it's supposed to be embracing the world and making, or trying to make the world a better place while you're having fun. So, you know, but I understand your question, bro, because I get it all the time. All the time they ask me the same question, and it's not about being in the States. Trust me, it's not about that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a beautiful
Thank you all.
Thank you, Mauricio.
Thank you, Mauricio. Good luck to you, man.
We have now a YouTube question, and from actually something similar that a person from Zoom asked, is if the panel can describe an example, a specific example where they had like a new opportunity from scratch, or a very specific moment that boosted your career, a very specific opportunity. So we can start with Nannette.
Wow, that's a big question. So yeah, so I started in music because I love music. I couldn't imagine myself doing anything else. My dad was a musician. My grandma played the piano at church, and I really don't know what else I would do if I didn't study music. I don't know. For me, it's I got to play on stage. Actually, it was with Berklee, and they had these clinics in Berklee in Puerto Rico, and I was going there, and when I got the opportunity to get on stage and play at the Heineken Jazz Festival, that was just the craziest thing I've ever done. I was like, what, 16? And to feel the crowd, because I played in other places, 40, 20 people and concerts, but to play there at the Jazz Festival, it was the most amazing thing. I could feel, like, you know how you can feel the audience, and you can feel them in your skin, you can feel the warmth, you can feel them, and you just close your eyes and just magic happens. And at the end, you're like, what is this? What just happened? This is amazing. So that was like a key moment that I knew that whatever I did in music, whatever I did, it had to be in music, because I wanted to be a flute player. But when I was studying and I finished and I went back to work as a musician, and then I discovered that something else in the music business and the music industry is what most fulfilled me. And other people are like, why did you just study flute? Why are you studying in an office or in this? And I was like, man, when I see those kids in Zoom and they win that scholarship, it's the most amazing feeling. So it's those two moments, that moment when I felt the magic and the energy of music, And when I saw a student go through what I went through when I won that scholarship, their face and their family. So those are the key moments that I knew what I wanted to do with my life.
That's great. Thank you. Carolina?
An opportunity from scratch. Maybe I can talk of, like, let's say it's funny when I got the job at Audio Network, people thought that I had a contact at Audio Network. They're like, oh, how did you get the job? Like, who did you know? And I'm like, nobody. Like, I applied from scratch, and luckily I got called and everything, and it worked out. So I look for opportunities myself, but I really love to look for opportunities for others. So for example, at Audio Network, and it's funny because I love helping people. And for example, educating songwriters and composers and musicians, because sometimes even when I worked at the Latin Grammys, and people think that it's like, oh, a Latin Grammy, it's like so unachievable. How do you even get there? And when I was working at BMI, I signed Mireya Ramos from Flor de Toloache. They're Grammy winners now. And when I'm a member, and I was telling them, is like educating them, is like the process and everything. I'm like, oh my God, you have to register the album. Let me register your album, da da da. And the first time they got a nomination for that album. But then the second time they won the Grammy. But from there, you teach them how to do it. And that was an opportunity that they didn't know that it was there for them. And it opened up. And for example, now our Audio Network, I know we were looking for, I know what my clients need. We don't have a tango album, for example. And I'm like, I fight for Latin music and original Latin music and traditional. I'm like, we don't have a tango album. I know a composer that can help us with a tango album. And I connected, and actually with regional Mexican too. And they're like, what is that? The creatives don't understand because they're in UK, and they're like, this sounds a little bit weird, Carolina, is this okay? And I'm like, that's perfectly normal. It sounds amazing. This is what we need. But for tango, for example, I connected with a composer, he's Gustavo Casenave. He's an Uruguayan composer. And we actually got our first Latin Grammy nomination with his album. It's the first time production music company gets nomination for a Latin Grammy. So I do think that the opportunities that are out there, it's and you can start them from scratch.
Wow, that's incredible. Thank you. Marc, is there anything you'd like to say about this question?
And I've had a lot of opportunities, and all from scratch, really. Let me see. I don't know. I think the biggest one for me that was really, that changed my perspective in music and the industry itself was when I joined David Byrne's tour after recording the record with him. The level of the production team and just the way they treated the musicians, because, in salsa music, unfortunately, it's all about playing the music, making as little money as possible, but making everybody happy, and really playing music is about, making you, fulfilling yourself, and also, making others enjoy whatever time they're having there at that moment. But seeing a different side of the industry, having played with David Byrne and then joining the Allman Brothers, gave me a different perspective of music and how to treat other musicians as well. Bobby Allende and I, we have a salsa band called Ocho y Mas. But we also, do concerts. Luis has been a part of some of the shows we've done, where we're one band backing up several singers. And, in preparation for those shows, I've taken it upon myself with Bobby to, you know, cater rehearsals, make sure the musicians are fed, make sure that we're not wearing them down, you know, which is what we're normally used to in unfortunately in the Southside industry, where it's just like, you know, work, no breaks, and, you know, done, right? And so, you know, for me, it was a very transformative time, you know, where I was able to appreciate how people were treating me, giving me the respect that I felt that I deserved. And so I'm giving that respect now to musicians whenever I'm producing something. You know, I want to make sure everybody's being taken care of. You know, it's paying it forward. And that's why, you know, I really appreciate, you know, Carolina's efforts and Nannette's effort, where, you know, you're paying it forward. You're giving people opportunities. And, you know, if you know, even Oscar as a teacher, you know what I mean? He's a great musician. He could have continued to play music, but instead he wants to educate, you know, kids, you know, keep it moving, keep it evolving, keep people interested in music, because music is a very important, it's a vital, you know, part of, I think, of our existence. Without music, no hay nada.
Of course. And of course, the four of you are paying it forward, even by just having this inspiring talk for us students. Really, it's amazing how it impacts us and it makes a difference. Thank you. Luis Enrique, is there anything you'd like to say?
Yeah, I often say that, you know, in terms of my career, I've had amazing and incredible opportunities. You know, I never really, if I tell you that I thought that I was going to be a star when I was interested on playing music, just playing music or learning about my instruments and all that, I would be lying. I never thought about stardom. I never thought about being famous. I never thought about winning Grammys. No, that wasn't my focus. My focus was always music 24/7. You know, I had no other life than being committed to it. So I've had many opportunities because of that. I can name a few. I mean, just, you know, getting that call to play for Gloria Estefan when I had been a fan for all my life, while I got to Miami, and getting that call from Emilio saying, Nicaragüense, you know, come and play, isn't that? And I just being there, it's just like, I thought, man, this is just not real. This is crazy like that, right? Getting the call from Collective Soul and Foreigner, that was just like out there somewhere. I mean, it's just crazy. And things that, you know, and like Mark says, you know, you truly appreciate the fact that, you know, somebody treats you with so much respect, and they've taken the time to listen to who you are and what you've done and all that. Because I had already been out for at least 6 or 7 years when I got these calls, and I guess they took the time to try to, you know, research of who I was and whether I could really play or not. So that's in all respect that I really pay attention to those things. Like, and I'm gonna take the liberty to say, even Oscar, we come from playing, you know, we are musicians. We come from playing. We come from playing gigs that don't pay much, gigs that a lot of times didn't pay any. We come from not being treated well in the clubs that we play, in terms of at least in the salsa genre, was very hard, even when you were a star. When I went to New York and played 3 or 4 gigs at night, you know, and we're treated like whatever. it's like, you know, you appreciate these things. And again, I'm gonna just be, I guess, an echo of everything that you guys have said. I pay it forward. You know, I treat musicians with respect. I give opportunities to musicians that are not known. I am I'm very proud to say that a lot of the musicians that have played in my band have moved forward to play other gigs, other big gigs, and I'm glad that I was somehow a step for them to evolve and keep going. And you know, that's also a great opportunity for me, because I feel that that's an achievement for me when I'm able to help somebody else that has talent, that has put the work into their craft, and that they have shown up. So, you know, how to build opportunities from scratch? Well, sometimes it doesn't have to be for yourself as you know, being more famous or making more money. Sometimes, a lot of the times, has to do with giving the opportunity to somebody else. And for me, that's money in my spiritual bank. And I'm always eager to be able to achieve that any chance I can.
Oh, thank you very much for that
Can
answer.
I add something really quick about a specific opportunity? I'm in sales. I always have to look for opportunities from scratch for me to find clients to bring to audio networks. So for example, clients like RCN Televisión in Colombia or something. So for example, one specific opportunity that I looked from scratch is like, okay, who do I want as client? So, okay, I want this channel as a client. And where can I find them? Okay, do I need to go to this event to go and meet them? So, okay, I'm gonna go to MIPCOM and then I'm gonna connect with the people from this channel. It might not be the people that I specifically need, but that's my first contact, right? Am I gonna introduce myself to these people? And they're like, okay, thank you so much. Can you please just direct me and stay in touch, follow up with these people after like 2 weeks or something after the event? And I'm like, thank you so much. It was great. Can you please connect me to the right person? So I can say that after 2 years trying to go for a channel, I got it, and it did not happen overnight, but I looked that opportunity from scratch. I went to the event I needed to go. I knew who I needed to meet with. And then I stayed in touch, and I kept going through many other contacts in order to establish that. And also, like, for example, if I'm looking for a music supervisor, or I'm always looking for business, like I'm looking at the credits of a Netflix series and see who is it that did the music supervision. Okay, who is the producer? Perfect. I have to go to LinkedIn and look up the credits, like look up this person, connect with this person, reach out to this person. So you really have to have a specific objectives in order for you to start opportunities for yourself.
Wow.
Yeah, that's amazing. I've done something similar in my internship where they had us do something like that and look for sales. And it's such a crazy process, and it can be frustrating. You have to really know how to communicate with people. It's amazing. So yeah, thank you for that answer. And now I would like to invite Aitana to ask her question. If you would like to put your camera on and tell us where you're from.
Sure. Well, hi everybody. Hi Nannette. Hi everybody.
Hello.
Yeah, my question. Let me see. I kind of. Okay. This one was kind of for Luis Enrique and for Marc.
Wait,
but
I'll tell you where she's from. She's Peruvian and she's a great singer. But go ahead.
No, I'm Cuban. I'm Cuban. Well, thank
Cuban? No.
I'm Cuban.
¿En serio? Oh, mala mía.
I know.
Te vi cantando con Tony.
Con Tony, yeah, but it was a concert that we had in Guatemala.
Mala mía. Mala mía.
All right.
Yeah. Then thank you for that, Marc. So, yeah, I have this question. They're like super reinforcing this in my music business class. So, I want to hear from Marc and from Luis Enrique, but I also want to hear from Carolina, because I know it's a different perspective, and from Nannette, and of course from Oscar. The thing is, do you see yourself as a businessman and your music as a product? Because we're talking here about passion, about music, and I mean, we all felt that way, but do you see yourself as that? I don't know, perspective of the music. I know that we all have to live and eat and everything, but how do you find this in your life? How do you stay?
I mean, it is a business, but I didn't really get into it as a business. You know, I was born into music. You know, growing up, because my dad was a musician, he supplemented, you know, he played on the weekends and he was working 9 to 5 to support the family, right? So I thought that was the life of a musician, because that's what I grew up seeing. You know, luckily I was, you know, able to just focus on music and be a musician. I never really thought I was going to be at the level that I am. And it's still somewhat embarrassing to me when people, you know, compliment me for what I've done, because again, I love playing music. I don't play it for the accolades. I don't play it for, I'm not going to say that I don't play it for the money, because, you know, it's a job, you know, just like any other job. You work to, you know, to live, right? But at the end of the day, you know, you do have to, you know, be careful on how you conduct business in this industry. It's a very cutthroat, very, you know, people like to take advantage of others sometimes, unfortunately. But, you know, in terms of your question, what is the actual basis of your question for business, on the business side?
Yeah, because this, you know, that I always say, like, you're a brand and your music is your product, and you know, you should know how to sell your product. I don't know, it's kind of weird because we think of our music as, I don't know, as our child and not as our product. I know it's a different relationship with our product. So I will really know I really want to know what you see, and that.
Well, I don't really see myself as a brand. That's the thing, you know, like that's something of this generation, that everybody's a brand now. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't understand that. I'm a musician. If you consider what I do to, you know, something special for you or for whomever, you know, great. But I never looked at it as a brand. You know, Luis might have a different opinion, because, you know, he's a singer, he's a front man. He's Luis Enrique. You know, I'm Marc Quiñones, the percussionist. That's the way I view myself.
Right. Well, I had at the beginning of my career, I had a really hard time. Anytime that somebody from the record label or manager came to tell me, hey man, you're a product, you know, just get it. And I just never got it. Up until now, I never got it. I don't know what the hell that is. So now that doesn't mean that your work and your music doesn't have a certain value. If that's what we're talking about, that's a different story. Products for me is Coca-Cola and many other things. We are all unique in our ways. There's no other Marc Quiñones, there's no other Oscar Stagnaro, there's no other Nannette, there's no other Carolina. We are human beings, we are unique. So we all have a different take on these things that we do with music. So, you know, now that you have to charge for your job, that you have to make money so you can make a decent living and whatever, yes, we do. And that you have to know how to conduct business, just like Mark said, yes. And that you should not be ashamed of doing so, because there's this thing in the industry that they say, well, what are you talking about? You don't charge $250 per gig. Who do you think you are? Yeah, you're gonna encounter that a lot of times. And trust me, you're gonna have to stand up for yourself. And if they want your voice, what was your name? Aitana, then they're gonna have to pay. They have to pay for Aitana, not for whatever it is that they're thinking their little head. in terms of their money that they can get out of you. Now, if that's what you mean, yes, I am a businessman. If becoming a brand, like Mark says, I hate that word, by the way, brand or whatever thing they call it now, I am not into that. I feel that our art, if we're gonna talk about making music, our art, you cannot put value on. It's that simple. Now that we are able to put some money, some numbers on it to make a living and charge and make, have work and have jobs, yes, we do. And we have to charge accordingly. But that whole philosophy, I was also born into music. So, and by the way, my uncles were making music almost like for free. So the thing in my household was that, you make music for your culture and your empathy and your this and that. And I grew up like thinking that we were not supposed to make money out of this thing. And, have a 9-to-5 job like Mark's father did and play music whenever. And, and that's not the way it is. You charge for your talent. That's the way it is. And you charge accordingly. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's how I feel and think about that.
Yeah, totally.
Well, thank you for that question.
My question to you is, do you think you're worth it?
Hey, there you go.
I think the brand, I think product, I think it's just terminologies for like different reasons. But at the end, do you go to school pretty? Do you get ready? Do you behave in front of your parents? Do you respect other people? Are you transparent? I think it all has to do, and it's funny because Luis Enrique says about being unique. So I think if I see myself worth it, is that if I see myself and like as myself, I'm already worth it. And I think I'm always like behaving in a way that I like, hopefully. But I do see myself as a product. And the thing is that I find it with artists and musicians, it has a negative connotation, and it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. But that's my perspective. And me thinking that I'm a product and I'm a brand, it doesn't make me any more materialistic or any less materialistic. It's just, I'm a human being and I do what I do and I get paid for what I do. And I behave the way I do because I think that's how I am supposed to be or how I feel good at it. And I think it's like, if you see yourself worth it and you have yourself a way of behaving or a way of performing or a way of conducting any business, I think that's really, for me, what matters the most. And for me, it's kind of like product brand. It's just like a marketing terminology, but for me, it's all kind of be the same.
Problem is the language becomes a tool for somebody else to, walk all over you. Don't allow that to happen. That's basically Carolina speaking the truth. It doesn't make you more or less. It's just words that is used today in the industry. Before it was product, now it's brand.
Now it's brand, yeah. Yeah, I grew up also thinking about I'm sorry, Oscar. I didn't grow up thinking a brand, that I was a brand or I was a product. And I also knew that going into music, since my dad was a musician, I knew I was going to have to put in the time and it was going to be very hard work. So I knew what I was getting myself into. So when I was doing it, I saw it not as a brand or a product, or business, but as a career. This is my career. These are the steps that I have to take. At the beginning, I was shy, I was insecure, and sometimes I didn't take chances because I was shy. But then I understood that it was my career and I had to take those chances. I had to be there. I had to be responsible. I had to develop my sound. And in the middle of the road, yes, if you can call it that, I don't know, but I was a brand because they knew who Nannette was, right? So I kind of was. I didn't like thought about it that way, but yes, I was. Nannette is this. She'll be responsible. She'll be in time. She'll do this. She likes to play this style. Her sound is like this. So I was, but I wasn't thinking about, I have to be a brand. I have to something. I was thinking about the music and doing what I loved. So maybe it can help you to think about as a career. And then when you develop your sound and you know who you are, then that is like your brand product or whatever you want to call it. But it's like your music, what you're giving to the world.
Yes, I know, Aitiana. Did you go? I met you in Mexico, correct? No. Yes, I remember you.
Yeah, that's right.
She's super talented. She's super talented. It's very shy, but she's super talented. My only advice, like Luis said, probably the meaning of words for you are, or for whoever said the product, is not the same for us coming from another generation. I think you're trying to be different from other singers or other bass players in my case. Try to be authentic to what you do and try to not be always an imitator. So you come to be the person that you are, and then probably that's the product that people will see. But you are an image or something that you create yourself. You know what I'm saying? So that's what, for me, that's what the product, whenever somebody refers to a product, that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's not something that you're going to sell. It's like, you create
the product is Aitana. Yeah.
It's so funny.
And by the way, Aitana won a scholarship with the foundation for $1,000 to go to Berklee. So
now I'm to hear your music. But it's funny.
So grateful for that.
I was 21 and I was working in Universal, and I will never ever forget one word that someone told me. And he says, "Do you want to stay in this business for a long time?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Well, you gotta be very aggressive and you have to stop being so sweet." And I'm like, "Okay, thank you." And I'm like, I don't think I've ever been aggressive. So, people have so many thoughts, and it's just like really.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much for that advice.
You know how many years they gave me in my career? It's been 34 already. They always talk about 5 years. That's all they were giving me. 5 years. That's crazy. It's, hey, listen, words. What can I say? Words.
Words.
Believe in yourself and know how to navigate, how to negotiate your talent. Be knowledgeable, study your craft. Be smart about it, Don't allow people who just walk in and walk all over you. That's just not the way it is in any business.
Follow your gut, because we always hear tons of advice. Look at what they told to Carolina, but you don't have to change who you are or your music or, to make someone else happy. You're the one who has to live with yourself and sleep with yourself and be with yourself 24/7, so you have to just follow your gut always.
Thank you all for that. That was like a big piece of advice. Each one of you. Yeah.
And thank you for your question, Aitana. That was a really great question.
That was a good question.
And we're coming to an end, or unfortunately, because this is so amazing and what an incredible conversation. But before we say goodbye and we leave, I would love for each of you, if you would like to give any final thoughts or any final piece of advice. Carolina, Nannette, Luis Enrique, and Marc.
Who's first?
You, Marc.
Ladies first.
Hey?
Ladies first.
Okay. All right. Well, my advice is to study, stay true to yourself, but also, aside from studying is very important, but you need to go out there and hone your craft. You have to, because shedding is a good thing, but it doesn't put you in the moment when things can be turned upside down quickly on stage. You know, you don't learn that practicing. But you know, stay true to yourself. You know, stay focused. You know, respect people you come across. Respect yourself first and foremost. And you know, when one door shuts, there'll be another door that opens. So don't give up. If you're passionate about what you're doing and what you want for yourself, you know, never give up.
Thank you, Marc. Luis Enrique?
Echoing what Marc says, I think that you are to believe, you need to believe that you are unique and that you have a unique talent and that you need to discover that, embrace that, cherish that, take good care of that, and put it to work for you. If you want to make a living doing music, making music, playing music, you have to go out there and you have to prove to yourself first that you can do this and that you can do it in an amazing way, and that there is something unique about whatever it is that you're doing, and that you know it, you discovered it, you took the time to, you know, get under your skin and in your soul and discover what that is, whatever it is that you're gonna make us all believe that nobody else can do it like you. You have a sound, that, you know, you have a language, and that you have a lot to say through your instrument or your voice or whatever, arranging, whatever it is. But your talent is unique. You're nobody else. You're not in anybody else's shoes. It's your own thing. So put it to work for you.
Oh, that's incredible. Thank you. Nannette?
Well, what Marc and Luis said is essential for this career. But also, if two things, if you don't love music, this career, if you don't get goosebumps when you listen to Reynaz sing, if you don't want to cry when you listen to an adagio, or if you don't feel that passion or that love and you're happy, do something else, because you have to do something that you're happy and that you love. And also there's a motto that I live by from Gandhi, is you have to be the change you want to see in the world. If you want the music business, the career in music to be ethical, to be pure, if you want people to work for it and get it, if you have to be the example, you have to lead by example, and you have to be that change. And yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, Nannette. Carolina?
I think three of the biggest challenges as musicians or artists or composers are really to be heard, to be paid fairly, and to find a reliable team. So I think if you have the opportunity to be heard, make sure you can play the music. If you have the opportunity to be paid, make sure you know the worth of your talent and the craft, and that if you're doing it for free, it's because it's not that you're getting a kickback or something, but it's about collaboration, for example. And if you're not going to be paid for something, it's because maybe you're going to receive royalties, or maybe because there's a bigger opportunity right after this one. But yeah, like, be heard, make sure you are heard. Be paid fairly, make sure you're paid. And then if you find people around you that are producers, or they're saying they're musicians, or that they're great managers, or that they're great publicists, or that they're great vocalists, look for their credentials, or make sure. It's like when you go to an audition and you say, oh yeah, I'm the best piano player, and then you get to perform and you're not really the best piano player. So I do think that everybody has to be accountable.
That's very special. Thank you. And I have not enough words to express how grateful on behalf of the student community. This is so valuable to us. It's really inspiring, especially during these times where we have to learn online. It's very special for us to be inspired by the four of you and what you each uniquely and individually do. It's really incredible. Thank you for taking the time and taking your experience and sharing it with us. And now I would like for Oscar to say some final words. But thank you, Carolina, Nannette, Luis Enrique, and Marc. It's really
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Jimena. You did a great job. You have an A+.
So, Jimena.
Wait, was this a class project?
No.
Yeah. That was a secret.
It was an exam.
If I graduate or not, the grade I had for this.
No, I mean, I really appreciate your time that you give us to share all your experiences. I know we could be here for 2 days and we're still learning a lot of stuff. And by the way, I know that Luis Enrique was a percussionist for Oscar de Leon at what time? Sometime in the past. I don't know if it's true or not.
Yeah. I did. I was doing a gig and they called me up. They fired the bongo player that they brought from New York and they called me up on the spot. And thank God I knew all of Oscar de Leon's music.
Of course.
I passed the exam.
Yeah, because he's gonna be our guest, like you did. You were our guest a few years ago. He's gonna be our guest for the Latin Cultural Celebration in November. So he's gonna sing virtually a tune we put together with students. So that's gonna air on November 12th. Yeah.
That's excellent.
Yeah. So Marc, Carolina, Nannette, it's a pleasure to have you here. I hope this is the first time of many. And please take care of yourselves. And we'll see you next year, hopefully back in Boston. I hope.
Yes.
All right.
We will.
Thank you very much to all of you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, guys.
Oscar.
Thank you.
Okay.
Be blessed.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.